protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil based on sequence 4A wear testing using SAE 5W30. Andy Poland, happy to join us this morning. ESPN 630 DC, the sports capital. Love the name of that station, the sports capital. Good morning to you, Andy. Okay. So some news in the last 24 hours regarding Dwayne Haskins and his whereabouts and the timeliness of it. And so I ask you, what is the reaction in D.C. to these photos that have been circulating of Dwayne Haskins?
You know, this is an organization that thrives on turmoil. And I say thrives, not in terms of wins and losses. It just seems that they are attracted to it like, a moth to a flame. And this is, it's late December here, and we're used to turmoil. But this is really ridiculous because Dwayne Haskins now has a chance after losing his job. He started the season as a starter, got demoted to third string, and now he has swum to the surface again with a chance to lead this team into the playoffs, a win over Carolina on Sunday and a Giants loss to Baltimore, and they're in, and he goes out and he does something stupid like this. He put his entire team in jeopardy. And with practice today, nobody really seems to know what's going to happen. Do you bring him into the facility and risk infecting everybody else? Do you have him stay home? If he can't play, they're in a very precarious position because Alex Smith may not be able to play, wasn't able to play last week. And your options right now are Taylor Heinicke, who's had exactly one NFL start a couple of years ago, threw 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions, and Steven Montez, an undrafted free agent who's yet to take a snap in any type of a game. So it's a tough situation, and he's really messed things up for them.
And the pictures we're talking about here are pictures of Dwayne Haskins at a strip club, surrounded by strippers, maskless, coming off his start, one of the first starts as of late for him, taking over for Alex Smith in a first-place Washington football team who plays this weekend against the Panthers. An opportunity for Coach Ron Rivera to go against his old squad and potentially clinch the NFC East here. You've kind of laid out the scenario for potential quarterbacks. Do you envision any way that Dwayne Haskins gets the start this weekend simply because they have to play him with what's on the line?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they seem to be backed into here, that they may have to play him. But 2 things on this. One is the safety aspect. Do you risk bringing him in because there is that 3 to 5 day period where you may or may not have the disease, and they would have to have some testing and some incubation period and all that. So I don't know whether you bring him in on that. And I would ask you, Jordan, having played major college basketball, if your team captain pulls a stunt like this, can you put him on the floor, safety reasons or not?
Yeah, no, you absolutely can, Andy. And to me, even bigger than that, Andy, is your coach, your boss, the guy who everybody's rallied around is fighting cancer. And to put him in that position is just mind-numbing to me. I got to imagine, Andy, these players, the people in this organization are looking at this guy like, we don't really want him to be a part of our squad. I mean, we saw this with pitchers on the Cleveland, no longer Indians team as they're in the midst of changing their name, get in trouble for partying in Chicago and not telling people that they were out, and they got dealt from the team and had to find their own way home. I mean, what is the feeling within the Washington football team about their teammate?
Well, we haven't heard from any of the team players, anybody who said anything, because NFL facilities now are closed on Monday and Tuesday. So this will be the first time we'll get some reaction from other players. But you got to think, I mean, if this guy is not only your quarterback, but your team leader, a team captain, how can they follow him? And Ron Rivera has put forth a big effort to change the culture here. That was what he was actually charged with by Dan Snyder when he hired him. And it seemed like he made great strides. But it's been one thing after another for Haskins. When he was drafted number 15 by Washington instead of number 6 by the Giants like he wanted to, and like Daniel Jones was taken ahead of him, he tweeted out, "The league done messed up." He's had another incident earlier this year where he brought a person into the hotel, a family friend, while they were staying in New York, and he had to be fined for that. And, he lost his job because it appeared that he wasn't preparing properly for it. And there were reports that after his fourth start, when they lost to Baltimore and lost rather lopsided, that he was bragging about his stats in the locker room after the game.
Oh my God.
So while he continues to say, I'm learning, I'm growing, he's not. He continues to make mistake after mistake. And this one seems to be the most egregious of all because, as we've talked about, he's put his entire team in jeopardy.
And I mean, on top of being at a private party with strippers, maskless, there's photos
not a strip
of it.
Club. It was a private party.
Yeah,
Thanks
there's
for cleaning
photos
that up.
of it on the internet. I mean, the whole thing, the timing is awful. It's just
They're in first
all a mess.
place. Andy and Shay, they are in first place.
It's a mess.
This is just disgraceful.
It is. It's not good.
Well, look, I mean, if you are a famous person and you're going to go out and do this, somebody's going to take your picture. There's just no way around this. And, this is something Michael Phelps learned this 15 years ago when he was doing a bong hit at a party and didn't think anybody would take his picture, and they did.
Right.
So, somewhere along the line, you got to learn.
So, Andy, before we let you go here, who is going to be the quarterback next season in Washington?
Great question.
That is a great question. Alex Smith is not. They don't have guaranteed money for him. They could possibly bring him back. They played Kyle Allen, for a while. He's now hurt. Maybe he comes back. But I think they go back into the well. They're probably going to have to draft a quarterback. I don't know how high they can get one, but there's going to be somebody else under center next year, I believe, besides Dwayne Haskins.
Without a doubt. Andy Pollin, ESPN 630 in D.C., the sports capital. Thanks so much for the insight. We appreciate it. Take care and happy holidays.
Enjoying you guys' work. And by the way, do you keep the talk show going when you get home, or is there a moratorium on sports talk?
Yeah, it's more of her just demanding me to do things around the house. It becomes a one-person show at home. I just become a listener, Andy.
I got it. I've been married almost 35 years. I get it.
Give me this. Give me the secret. Give me the secret, please.
Keep listening to my orders. Is that the secret, Andy? Thank you again for the time. Happy holidays. We'll catch up with you soon. Okay, so there's clearly a bigger discussion here with Dwayne Haskins. And before we get into the changing of the culture by Dan Snyder, because that's an entirely different conversation here, the audacity of Dwayne Haskins time after time. And I have to laugh because when I saw this story yesterday, I thought to myself, I remember hearing and seeing certain sports personalities, you were one of them, that thought perhaps Ron Rivera was benching Dwayne Haskins a little too early this season and telling him he's no longer the starter.
You're right.
And I remember thinking at the time, Ron Rivera's a really smart guy. Okay, he doesn't have this reputation of being impulsive and making decisions without proper thought or picking someone for the wrong reasons, etc. So I thought there's got to be more to this story. He's not prepared for games. The immaturity issues had come out, and so here we are now seeing it unfold at really, honestly, the absolute worst time for a team like the Washington football team to be in first place in your division that is the closest division. I don't care what the records are in the NFL, and on the heels of them going to Carolina to play Ron Rivera's former team, a team that fired him, and him to have a little bit of a revenge and a story for himself after he's battled all year and worked to change the culture there. Give me a break, Dwayne, okay? And if you want to have a party with women, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Don't take pictures and wear a mask. Like, the football season isn't 365 days of the year. You're almost to the end. Figure it out. Have some self-control. I have no patience for this kind of stuff. None.
To me, I go back to, and I made the mention of the Cleveland Indians, and they're in the midst of changing their name, so I'll say Cleveland baseball team at this point. But we're in Chicago, your hometown, a place we lived. I was able to enjoy life for about 15 years. Never know if we'll get back there, maybe. But you had this Cleveland baseball team, and one of their standout players, Mike Clevenger, along with another player, Zach Plesac, went out in Chicago during a road stand there versus the Cubs, or maybe it was the White Sox. Either way, they were in Chicago, snuck out of the hotel, broke protocol. Their teammates were furious. They had a cancer survivor on their roster, and they didn't like the fact that they were putting not only the team, but guys like that who are even more compromised, their lives in danger. And because of that, those guys had to find their own way home, and Mike Clevenger had to find a new team. Mike Clevenger meant infinitely more to the Cleveland baseball team than Dwayne Haskins will ever mean to the Washington football team.
Well said. And I remember in that moment loving that all the teammates rallied together and were like, this is wrong. This is wrong. I hope today, when these Washington football team players speak to the media, they do the exact same thing.
And I agree with you. You kind of cut me off there before I got to the point of, yes, absolutely. Andy Pollin said we haven't heard from the team yet. You think those guys aren't going to be fired up? How do you think Coach Ron Rivera feels about this? Like, you are putting people in danger. Look what I'm holding for those watching on television right now. And for those listening on radio, don't know. I'm holding a mask. Here at ESPN, once we stop down in a break, we put these masks back on to protect everybody in this building. It's a mandate here at the company to protect everybody. And if you're not doing your part, you're putting other people in danger. And you're also putting not only lives, jobs in danger. Because if this thing has to shut down because of somebody's inability to do what they're being asked with a mask, it's selfish for life reasons, for employment reasons, for a whole lot of things. Dwayne Haskins could be responsible for driving this thing into the ground. A team that has playoff aspirations, people's lives in danger, and ultimately jobs being lost. That's what this young man has to live with. And I can't sit here and listen to people make the excuse he's just a kid. No. We are asking 18 to 22-year-olds in college